So, Jason, you're also the host of You Optimize Radio. Now, I was on your website this morning getting ready for the show, and I just happened to notice that you had on as a guest the Iceman, Wim Hof. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and how you actually got him on the show? And for those who don't know who Wim Hof is, just tell people what he's famous for.
Yeah, Wim's a great guy. He's kind of been known. His nickname is the Iceman for the reason that he goes out and climbs mountains in his shorts, barefoot, runs marathons in the polar regions. He essentially does these incredible sort of feats of strength or endurance to show kind of what the human body's capable of. So he's the world record holder in, I think, in an ice bath, of sitting in an ice bath for I think 2 hours or something close to that. Yeah. So he does a lot of amazing things. But yeah, I mean, Wim is just the epitome of, I think, what I love to see in people. He's truly authentic. He's out there sharing his mission. He's spreading the word. He just kind of revolutionizing a lot of what is being talked about in the health world. In fact, he's contradicted the medical literature a number of times and proven it and shown what he can do. So, he's kind of walking the walk, and he's out there having a good time with it. And he's all about having fun, spreading love, music, dance. I mean, he's just a good dude. So
I've actually watched a few YouTube documentaries on him.
Yeah.
On YouTube, there's a 2 or 3 part series, and it was extremely interesting. Anyone that hasn't done so, I highly recommend looking up Wim, W-I-M
H-O-F.
H-O-F.
Yeah.
Or just look up the Iceman. It's just an amazing story. So how did you actually get him on your show? Is a question for people that are into either podcasting or shows like this. How did you actually connect with him to get him to be part of your show?
Yeah, I think it was a connection through another person. So, that's really the key. It's the key to, these type of podcasts and interview things. It's the key to the business, relationships, life in general, right? It's making good connections. It's being yourself, and not burning any bridges in the process, and really trying to foster relationships, right? So for me, it was just a mutual connection that I asked and said, hey, I'd love to have him on. This is what I'm about. If you can connect me, that would be great. And they connected me, and, I kind of presented my message and said, hey, we're fighting for the same goal here. I'd love to have you on. And he was, nice enough to take some time out and share his message. And I think there's 2 parts to this. One is fostering the connections that allow you to make the connections that you're trying to make, but also connecting with the right people, right? And if you're connecting with the right people for either your business or fostering a true message, then those people will more than likely come out and support you. Whether it's a direct benefit to them or not, they're about spreading their message. They're about doing the things that they are there to do. So, part of it is just connecting with the right people and good people.
Excellent. Yeah, I truly believe that. I'm doing the same thing with this show. I'm connecting with as many people that I actually know, and then I'm leveraging my relationships with other people to try to get, people that I don't have a connection with yet onto the show, and to be able to, give back to the audience, to share their message, to be able to help people accelerate their authority, to grow their business as quickly as possible.
And the key to that too is not to use people, right? And and manipulate the situation, right? The key to that is giving things away, right, and working for other people, not for a selfish reason, but at the same time understanding that the more you can give to other people, the more likely they're going to help give back or pay it forward and that kind of thing. So it's really about giving, what you can to other people, giving them a platform, giving them an opportunity, giving them a voice, whatever it is, so that, you're fostering good relationships. They are much more likely to help you in that circumstance.
Yeah. And speaking of giving, Jason has a giveaway, which I'm going to put in the comments at the end of the show. Unfortunately, I can't sort of run the show, host the show, and actually type all the comments in at the same time. So I'll get those in the show notes or in the comments. He has a free giveaway for people, so definitely take advantage of that. We'll put in all Jason's contact information. So if you want to connect with him for anything, or maybe get some questions answered, or get into a little bit more about what he does, because this show here is specifically about growing your business and just Jason's sort of take on doing that. And one thing Jason's doing right now, as I mentioned, is he's running a very successful podcast. So can you tell me a little bit about the podcast and the reason that you actually started it, and what do you hope to gain from an authority perspective by running a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was in the sort of personal health space. So I was working one-on-one with a lot of clients. That was where most of my time was going. And, I felt that I enjoyed that, and there's people out there that need that. So I will probably always provide that on some level, but I also wanted to spread my message more broadly, right? I wanted to, all the knowledge and information that I was gaining and the experience that I was gaining, I wanted to share with a wider audience. And when you're working one-on-one with individuals, you can't really do that. So, the question then becomes, how do I do that, right? There's a number of ways these days. You can blog, you can podcast, you can write books, you can do all kinds of things. And for me, the podcasting thing was the way to go. I can't, it's really hard for me to sit down and just write blogs and just do that. I feel like that's sort of fading out anyway. I mean, it'll never go away. People will always read that, but it just wasn't me. And so the podcast angle was just felt like the right move for me, and I wanted to go out there and ask these good questions of these highly sophisticated, very well-researched people that I felt could help spread my message, and I can help spread theirs. And so, starting that podcast was, I've never done anything like that, right? I mean, I was an engineer forever, stumbled into the health field, worked one-on-one, and now I'm into podcasting, right? So I'm not extremely tech savvy. I can figure it out. It's painful. So there's a lot of a learning curve there, but at the same time, it's always scary and hard at first, and then it eventually usually becomes easy and boring. So, it's that in-between process that you kind of sit back and enjoy. So, once I got going, it was easy, and I felt it was a ton of fun connecting with all kinds of different people, getting to ask the questions that I've always wanted to ask these people, right? Now I was just kind of in this place where I could do that, right? So that's really what I wanted to do with the podcast. And, part of it was allowing me to branch off and to start to create, I don't know, I don't like these words, but a brand image, right? It allows me to get out of the medical health space and into more of the health optimization space, something where I can help the average person as opposed to the one that's just, on their deathbed type of thing. So, I always feel that in the health world, it's all about prevention. It's all about what you do before the things get to a dire situation. So that's really where I wanted to make an impact. It's where I wanted to share my experience, my knowledge. And so, that was the route for me. And it allows me to become more known for that in that space, as opposed to kind of the medical kind of doctor space.
Yeah, it's a medium that allows you to share your message and to position yourself in the marketplace the way that you want to be positioned.
Right. Well, and I felt I had stuff to give, right? Yes. I mean, the hardest part is when you are, unrecognized and people don't know who you are, and you have a ton of things that you want to give and share information. And I struggled with this with my whole life. And I'd be sharing information with people around me, and they were like, "Shut up, we don't want to hear it." So I was always trying to share, the things that I was learning. And when you're not recognized and people don't know who you are, it's very hard to gain that voice without doing something like this, where people can say, okay, maybe he kind of knows, or at least he's asking decent questions, or he's interesting, he's interviewing interesting people, and so that's really what it's about, is trying to gain that foothold a little bit to help spread the word that, hey, maybe I've got something that people can benefit from, and I'm trying to give it away, right? I want to teach people this stuff, because it took me a long time to learn this stuff. It was painful, it sucked, and I don't feel like everybody needs to go through that.
It's definitely a way for an individual to leverage off somebody else's authority just by proximity. So
sure.
You're interviewing
Absolutely.
all of these people, these doctors, these well-known people, just because of your proximity to them, the fact that you're actually interviewing them, you get to borrow off their credibility, which helps you immensely in people's perception of you being the expert or the authority in that health longevity space.
Right, absolutely. And part of that too is, Many of the guests I've had on, I was familiar with their work. I understood their topics that they could talk about. I understood that very well. Some of them, I was a little less certain. I hadn't read their book, or I hadn't done a lot of research on the material that they were, providing in the literature and these type of things. So I had to do some research, right? I did. So not only did it up my game a little bit to be able to, in order to speak to these things appropriately, and not sound like an idiot, right? I don't want to embarrass them. I don't want to embarrass myself, and I don't want to bore the listeners. Right. So, the key and the goal of that was like, you got to ask good questions. You got to make it, you got to sound natural and have a good conversation. The last thing people want to hear is this like mechanical nonsense that, sounds like it's like you prepared it and you don't really understand your guest very well. And so it's a difficult thing to do that. But I found that if you can do that well and keep it natural, then people have fun with it. And even as dry of topics as that I talk about, and they are dry sometimes, we try to loosen that up a little bit and make it a little bit more interesting and just like a flowing conversation.
Yeah, and it definitely helps when you're working on something that you're passionate about. So one thing that I feel is very important to be a successful entrepreneur is to follow your passion or your purpose, and to learn how you can actually monetize it. Can you talk a little bit about aligning your business and marketing with your specific purpose?
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. I mean, I can speak to this directly because I was in mechanical engineering for 10 years. I did it pretty well. It would have been a very successful monetary career for me. I could have started my own firm, been a principal, and gone down that path. But for me, my heart wasn't in it. I had zero passion for that. I was decent at it because I was a good problem solver and systems thinker. But for me, that the financial success or the career success could have came. It would have crushed me inside, and I would have been dead. Right. So to be able to thrive in your business. I think, and be happy with yourself and be fulfilled, truly fulfilled, which is really what it's all about anyway. You've got to find your purpose and know what it is. And that can be a difficult thing. But once you have that purpose, that's really what everything's all about. And when you find that purpose, I can tell you that all the challenges that people talk about in masterminds and all the marketing things that you watch and hear, they're so mechanical sometimes that the number one message that sometimes gets left out is just find your purpose, follow your passion, be authentic, right? And like going back to what I said earlier, that's why it was so important for me to hear that word saying, if you're just authentic, then your creativity will follow. It's the same thing. If you're passionate and if you follow your authenticity, the marketing will follow. Everything will follow. You don't need to figure out what's working and what color button is this and how, at what point in the day you send this. I mean, yeah, those are all metrics and sure they work. And if I were to hire somebody out, I would be telling them to do that, right? But when you're doing something yourself, following your passion, your purpose will help give you those marketing tools that you need because there's a million ways to market, and people, whether or not they can even realize it, they will sense and sniff out BS, right? They will sense it and it won't sound authentic. And so the more you try to force something that isn't you, I feel like the lower the success rate, no matter how mechanically correct you are. So it's finding those channels, finding those avenues that resonate with you. And for me, it was the podcasting thing, right? And that's not a marketing angle, but at the same time, it positions me in the field that was that somebody with some knowledge, right? Yeah. And so it is marketing, I guess, kind of. But the best part about it is it's marketing by giving, right? That's the key to, in my opinion, the next generation of people doing business. It's going to be about giving. Yeah,
there's one thing. You can learn all the strategies and the tactics when it comes to business and marketing and to be effective at that. But what you can't learn and what, as you said, will get sniffed out pretty quick is your passion or your desire to truly help your ideal target market or your ideal client with the pain, struggles, frustrations, or whatever it is they have. That stuff you can't fake. That stuff you can't learn to have is that passion. But all that other stuff, you can learn that or you can outsource that to other people. And, just as I said before, the podcast is just a medium to get your message across. This live show is just a medium to get your message across. And that message for me, because I've gone through that similar transition where, successful in real estate investing, and I really truly liked helping the people to get into home ownership through the rent to own program, but I just wasn't passionate about real estate investing. It's a great strategy, and it's great for the benefits of real estate investing are immense, and I will always stay in it. I'm partner of a nationwide business right now, but I'm not passionate about real estate investing. But I'm passionate. I actually sat back and said, what did I enjoy doing? And prior to doing that, I was helping grow a business. For 4.5 years, I was a business consultant and helped them grow their business. That's truly what I'm passionate about. It's like, I need to get back into that. And with everything that I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years, instead of doing it from an operational standpoint, why don't I do it from a marketing standpoint, put my own spin on it, and create sort of similar processes, procedures, systems to enable somebody to accelerate their business quicker, or their exposure quicker, or whatever it is. So you can't fake that passion, but everything else you can outsource, or they're just strategies and tactics, like you said.
Right. And some of it's understanding where your passion lies, right? Yes. And for me, the social media thing, it's not really, it's important in any business these days, and it's going to continue to be important, but it's not really where my passion lies. So the social media angle is something that I don't know that I'll ever find a passion in that arena. So that's what I source out, right? And hopefully, if I'm good at hiring people and finding people, then I'm going to find somebody that is passionate about helping people grow businesses through social media channels and that type of thing, right? So,
right. It's just a strategy or tactic. That's all it is.
Where your passion lies, it's okay to keep it there and understand that it doesn't have to span the whole spectrum. Find other people that have passions that can fill those gaps, right? And so that's what's going to win out, not necessarily the most mechanically sound person in that field.